This is the welcome email I got from a brand called Vorga. Virtually no copy and one image. It looks like it took about 3 minutes to set up. And look, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It delivers a discount code, it's functional, but it's also doing absolutely nothing to make me excited about the brand. It doesn't really show me what they sell or give me a proper reason to click through. It's the email equivalent of, here's your thing, please leave now. And this is so common. Most welcome emails are just a default template that hasn't been touched or a plain text email doing the absolute bare minimum. The first email in your welcome series gets some of the highest engagement of any email you'll ever send. If you're going to put effort into any email design, it should be this one. So today I'm going to walk you through exactly how I'd redesign this, the structure, the layout, the decisions, why certain elements matter, all of it. By the end, you'll know how to take an underperforming welcome email and turn it into something that actually does the job. Let's get into it. So this is the Vorga website. It's got a nice clean look, a lot of boxy buttons. The products are very clear. We need to make sure we carry this kind of look through into the design. So let's head into Figma. So there we've got the original email that I received, the one we're going to be improving. So first we're going to need a frame. We want that to be a 600 width. So we'll get that to 600 and we'll drag that down. We can extend that later if we need to, but that should do for the moment. So we're going to want an engaging hero image up at the top with a button and delivering the discount code, which is what they have sort of already done. We'll then have a bridge section in the middle going into a little bit more detail about the brand. I like to do that on a welcome series, not a sort of full brand history, but a little bit of an intro, get people bought into the kind of brand message and things like that. And then down the bottom here, we'll have a category section to show the different types of products that they sell. Now, as we can see from the website, they sell running caps. That's what I was after, needed to hide my bald head somehow. So I will go to their Instagram, find a nice good sort of action shot, a bit like one of these, and I'll dump that into Figma. Okay, so this is the image I found. I thought that one was quite cool. We could do a nice little sort of depth effect with that. So I'll plop that into the frame. Drag it up there, and then we want the logo at the top, but obviously black on that is going to look pretty terrible. So I'm going to use a mask. So we'll draw a rectangle around the image like so. Select the two layers, right click, use as mask. That's obviously gone to grey. Hit the rectangle, change that. I think we'll do it in white. Like that, and then we'll drag that in there. Yeah, that looks much better. Maybe we'll make that slightly smaller, like so. Make sure that's centered, lovely. Now we need to get some headline copy in there, and I checked the Vorga website and the font they used was Babas New, so I will grab that. I'm probably completely butchering the pronunciation there. We'll go with welcome to the team. That looks about right. We'll do that in white as well. We'll drag that on there, center it. Yeah, I think that looks good. What I might do actually now is do a little bit of a 3D effect. So this guy's kind of popping out of the front and it's a bit more eye-catching. We will duplicate this image. Then we'll drag one of the images in front of the welcome to the team section because we've already lined that up. And then we will remove the background from this front image. So this will take a couple of seconds. There are plugins to Figma you can use for that, but if you're on Figma Pro, then you can just use the inbuilt feature. So there we go, I think that looks a lot better. So we now want to get the discount code in this hero section. So we'll use this discount code. Obviously this is a custom one, but the point still stands. So we'll come in here, we'll grab a rectangle, we'll pop that there, we'll center it. We're gonna have this as sort of like a transparent thing like that. Then we will increase the corner radius, make that so it's got some nice rounded edges. Then we will come into here, we'll go onto stroke. We'll have this as a dashed line, I think. Make the dash a little bit bigger. There we go. Weight of 2, I think, to make it pop a bit more. We'll go for a white outline like so, and then we'll drop the code in with a text box. That looks a bit small. We'll bump that up a bit. We'll go 24. Yeah, that looks all right. And we'll increase the spacing like that, so it's a bit easier to read. Then we'll center that and we'll just make it slightly bolder. There we go, that looks better. So now we want to let them know that they get 10% off with that code. I forgot to put that in, so we will add a text box here. And we will say save 10% with code there. We'll reduce the letter spacing, do it at 2%. Yeah, there we go, that looks better. Then we want to, actually I'm going to drop that text size down a bit. I think we'll go 20 there. Yeah, that looks slightly cleaner. And then we need a text box for the button, not a text box, a rectangle for the button. We'll drop something in there, that looks about right. We'll mock the style, or we'll copy the style from the original. So we'll have it as a black box with white text. Come in here, we'll have shop now. That looks a little bit oversized. We'll drag that in a bit, drag this up. Yeah, there we go. I think that looks better. Cool, so that is the hero section done. So as I mentioned for the bridge section, we're going to do a bit of sort of a brand intro type thing. So I'll go back on their website and find their About Us page. So this is the About Us page. I've got that to dare, to venture, to risk. I think that's quite a fun heading. We might use that somewhere. And then, okay, so this is quite long. What I'll do is I'll dump this into Claude and I'll ask it to make me a concise version of this that is suitable for a welcome series email. I'll just go and quickly do that now. So this is what Claude produced. I think that reads pretty well. So I think that looks okay, but I think it could be made a little bit more interesting. So what I'm going to do is use this to dare, to venture, to risk, and build a cool sort of rotated heading. So what we'll do is we'll left align this, we'll bring that in slightly, we'll drag that there to make room for the heading that's going to run up the side, something like that. So we'll drag in a text box and we will do to dare, to venture, to risk. Have that as Babas. We'll bring this right up. This, I mean, maybe 100 font size. No, that's going to be too big. Do something like that. Rotate it. That's how it's going to look on the bridge section. So we want that. That is far too big. So we'll drag that down to maybe 60. Is that going to look okay? Maybe a little bit smaller still. We'll go 50. Something like that. Yeah, I think that looks good. But I think the black looks a bit boring, so I'm going to make the background of that text into an image, which again, we'll use the mask tool to do that. So we'll just get it back to flat for the moment to make our life easier. And these guys are based in the Lake District, which is an area of the UK. It's gorgeous if you haven't been. I absolutely love going there. So I'll find a picture of some sort of scenery from the Lake District and I'll use that to be the background for the text. So I found this image. I think that looks pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is make this slightly larger, drag it sort of there. So we've got a nice change in color across the text. And then we're going to do what we did last time. We need to drag this picture there, drag it in front of the text, copy both, use as mask, and there we go. That makes the text look pretty cool if you ask me. So we'll get this, we'll rotate it 90 degrees again, and we'll plonk that in. There we go. Just center that in that gap. Yeah, I think that looks good. What we do also need is another button, so someone can shop if they've scrolled to the bridge section. We'll just group these together, copy, paste, drag that down. I think we want to align that with the bottom of the text. Maybe we'll make it slightly smaller. And actually, I think this could probably be bigger now. So I'm going to increase the font size there. We'll make that 65. Drag that down. Oh no, that's not working. We need to increase the size of the image mask like that. Mask group, we'll drag that down. There, actually I think that needs to be 60. There. Perfect. Yeah, nice, I think that looks good. So now we're going to move on to the bottom section or the penultimate section. We'll do a footer as well, but we'll do the category section now. So we'll go into the website and pull the main product categories and we'll add some little emblems for those. Quick one before we move into the category section. If you're watching this thinking, yeah, I need to sort my welcome emails, but I just don't have the time. We do this stuff for brands week in, week out. If you want me to take a look at your existing systems and see if we could help, there's a link in the description to book a call. Right, back to the tutorial. Let's build the category section. Actually, before we go onto the website and get some images, I'm going to put in a border just to distinguish between the two sections, and it will just make things a bit more clear as someone's reading the email. So we'll do that, and we'll make that black. There we go, I think that looks okay. Actually, maybe a little bit narrower. There, we can always adjust this later if we need to. And we'll put a shop by category header in there. Shop by category. Now we'll center align that. There, I think that's slightly big, or maybe we'll go 40. Yeah, I think that looks better. So we'll go on their website. In terms of categories, they've got running, lifestyle, cold weather, and they've got a sales section as well. So I think we'll do these four. Those should give us some nice sort of thumbnail buttons. So again, I'll have a look around on their website, I'll look on their Instagram, and I'll pull some sort of relevant photos for each of those categories. So these are the category photos I've got. This one for the running, this one for the lifestyle. I think that's a really nice picture. We've got a cold weather one. And then for the sale, obviously it's hard to convey a sale in a photo. So what I'm going to do is do a nice sort of overlay of the word sale kind of outlined on top of this. So we'll start with the running one. We'll drag that in. We want to make that smaller, about that kind of size. I think that should do. We can always adjust this later. Then we want to add a box in here. Is that lined up? No. Then we'll get the fill. We want white, and then we want a stroke around the side. Yeah, that looks nice. Text box in there, and we'll have running. And we'll have the font size 22, I think should be okay. Yeah, that looks about right. There. And then we want a shop button again at the bottom, so it's clear that these images are clickable. We'll do that. We'll have that as black. And then we'll have the shop text in there. And we'll have that the same font as the other buttons. Like that. Center line. There. And I think this needs a black box all around the edge. So we'll come into stroke, and that's already done. Oh no, got a double stroke there. So if we just come here and go to this custom, and we'll get rid of the stroke at the top. There we go, I think that looks good. So we need to do the same thing, but for the other category, so I won't bore you with that. I'll quickly go and do that now. There we go then, all those category buttons are in now. I think that looks pretty good. We'll add in a shop all button as well. So, you know, I mean, obviously those categories do cover pretty much everything they offer, but if someone just wants to have a general browse, we can have a shop all section. And again, because the designs are nice and boxy, we'll have this line up with these. Oh, that looks like, is that off center? No, that's fine. Okay, so we'll go black box. We'll get this shop text again. Stick that in here, shop all, and we'll center that. That spacing looks the same, lovely jubbly, yes, nice. Now for the footer section, I've looked on their website and they've got a blog, I think they call it a journal, they've got an FAQ section, they've got the Our Story section that we looked at earlier, and they've got a contact form, so those are the buttons we're going to put in the footer. So let me just drag the frame down slightly like so. I think we're going to have black on white for the footer, so it looks a bit different to the body of the email. We'll do something like that. Then we'll make that black. Add in some text boxes. Again, we'll go stroke. We'll have a white stroke and we'll have black fill. And we'll drop that in there and we'll go Our Story. Center that. Group those together, and then we'll just copy paste there. We'll have journal. We'll have FAQ, and then we'll have contact. that, we'll just make sure these are central. Yeah, line these up like that. And then the only thing that's missing is some social icons. So we'll go to plugins, we'll go to icons 8, which is what I always use. It's a free plugin for Figma. You can see the last thing I searched is Instagram, so we want a white logo. I think we want a boxy one, again, to sort of line up with the other stuff we've been doing. So we'll drop that in there, and then we want a Facebook one as well. Just as an example, we'll use this one, I think. And then we will just resize these. Facebook, and how big is that? That's 33 by 33. We'll lock the aspect, and we'll do 33 like that. Make sure those are central. I think we'll bring those closer together actually. Like that. Actually, the lines don't quite work there, so I'm going to make these rectangles bigger. We'll drag them in there. We'll drag them in there. And then we'll drag these out. We can sort out the lines later. There, so that is 269. We'll do 269 as well for them. I think that looks about right. And then we'll drag those out. We'll drag those out. We'll select everything and make sure it's centered. Yes. And then we'll make the spacing between these line up with those. There we go. I think that looks a bit better. We'll drag this down slightly. Then we'll drag these down slightly as well. So there we go then. We'll just trim the bottom of the frame, get that up there, and there you have it. Now look at that next to the original. The new one looks way more eye-catching. It's got some copy bringing people into the brand. Again, obviously we've got the code and the Shop Now button at the top. Got a reminder of the code and a Shop Now button after the intro section. And then obviously if someone scrolls down this email, they know what they want to shop for. They can click the relevant category or just have a general browse. If they scroll down to the bottom of the email and maybe they're not ready to purchase right this instant, but they want to read more about the brand, our story, the journal, or contact the brand about whatever that may be, then they can do that as well. I am absolutely certain that if Varga implemented this one, it would convert substantially better than the original. Let me know if you agree. So that's the full process. Take a basic underperforming welcome email and turn it into something that does the job it's actually supposed to do. And this approach doesn't just work for welcome emails. The principles I've gone over here apply to pretty much any email you're going to be sending out, any designed one at least. Always start with a strong hero section. Use the bridge section in the middle to build trust, to educate, to add value. Make all your CTAs really obvious and really clickable, and showcase your products in the bottom. It can be category buttons, it can be product buttons. It just depends on how many SKUs you have or on the topic of the email. Once you know the structure, you can apply it to, like I mentioned, any other kind of email, whether that's post-purchase, win-back, general campaigns, whatever you like. Now, if you want me to break down any other email types or do more redesign walkthroughs like this, do let me know, drop a comment and I'll add it to the list. If you found this useful, please like and subscribe. I put out more videos like this every week. And like I mentioned earlier, if you want us to manage your email and SMS so you don't have to think about it, there's a link in the description to book a call. See you in the next one. Cheers.